This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
It's 3:01 on a Monday afternoon, and welcome to the Bumper to Bumper with Barreiro broadcast. Clearly, Dan, as you probably know by now, out this week, spring break, so cavalcade of fill-in hosts. Beginning with yours truly, Dave Sinykin, to start out the week on this Monday afternoon as we exit the month of March. And Rep Blakemore is by my side. If I'm so tempted, Mr. Blakemore, to channel my inner Barreiro to start the show today with, is it mathematically possible to be eliminated from the postseason before your home opener leader?
It's frustrating.
But it's his bit, so I'm not going to do it. Well, I guess I did it, but they didn't do it at the very top of the show. Oh, my goodness, your Minnesota Twins.
It's getting ugly.
Oh, my goodness. 9-0 at the old, well, it's not Comiskey. What do we call the new White Sox ballpark? Do you know?
US
it was Comerica for a while.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter. It's ugly. It was 9-0 through 3 innings. So, as I think Lehman tweeted, through the first 30 innings, the Twins have been outscored 28-6. And just to add a little fun to the whole thing, they haven't put the ball in play yet with a base hit. They are being no-hit through 6 innings by, is it Martin Perez or Martin Perez? I don't know, but he has been pulled through 6. So,
yeah, no faith in the no.
How's he feeling
Sad,
right now?
really,
I don't know. I don't know how many pitches he threw, but it's obviously his first start of the year. They pulled him through 6. So, again, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of Major League Baseball players. Is it Vasil, the middle reliever who has come in to start the 7th inning as the Twins will try to get a base hit? Jose Miranda, the first batter, just popped one up into short left center field.
That's not going to do it, Kyle.
No, 6 1/3 innings now of no-hit ball for your Minnesota Twins, who are coming off a lost weekend in St. Louis. Get out of Dodge, come to Chicago on a chilly day, and the bats are just as chilly as the out-of-doors. Not a problem for the White Sox, clearly, who were 1-2 over the weekend. They pounded the ball with a couple of 3-run homers off of Chris Paddock in the first 3 innings. Paddock's line, I know he pitched 3. I don't know how much further he went than that. 6 hits, 9 runs, all earned. 3 walks, 2 Ks, 3 dongs. An ugly start for him, and a very ugly start for your Minnesota Twins. Well, certainly, it's nice that it's up. I'm surprised Common had the game up. Did you? Well, you weren't in here, so somebody must have gotten the game up for him. A little surprised to see it already in play. We will continue to update you. A shot right to the shortstop, didn't have to move. 2 outs in the 7th. 6 2/3 of no-hit ball against your Minnesota Twins. They still have, 2 more here before the home opener on Thursday? Is that a 3-game set against Chicago?
I believe so.
So they do play all the way up into the opener on Thursday. Wow. I mean, it's hard to believe because we were so excited about all the offseason moves the Twins made. Baseball couldn't come soon enough for this fan base. Not so much. We'll keep you updated on what's going on the south side of Chicago. I'm thrilled to be here. I'll be here on Wednesday as well. Tomorrow, Parker Fox of the Golden Gopher men's basketball team will be sitting in this chair to make his debut. Excited about that and for him. More on that later. We have a 3-hour tour today. We are out at 6 as your Minnesota Wild return to action for the second of a back-to-back. I like to call it a home-and-home series with the New Jersey Devils. Wild coming off a very disappointing performance in the first matchup. We'll see if they can turn things around tonight. They'll drop the puck shortly after 6. No pregame. We'll take you right up to 6 o'clock. And Wild coverage follows us today. I'm excited to share our guest list today. This is almost a Mount Rushmore of guests. This is
That's a good one.
It's a good one. It's about as good as it gets. I thank all three gentlemen in advance for giving us some time today. It'll start bottom of the hour at 3:30. Ben Goessling will join. Of course, covers the Vikes for the Star Tribune. He is down in Palm Beach where the owners' meetings are ongoing. There is conversations I know he had with Kevin O'Connell today. Quasey, you may have heard him earlier with PA, reports that the Wilfs and Quasey are down the road on a contract extension that both sides hope to get done soon. We'll get the latest from Ben Goessling on those two stories and anything else he may have heard on day one from the owners' meetings down in lovely Palm Beach. Not a bad place to hang out at the end of March when we've got snow in the forecast tomorrow. Ben Goessling at 3:30. Then, top of the hour, 4 o'clock, bumper to bumper.
It's over.
Regular. Oh, there's the base hit. Well, no. Yay, there's the base hit.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
They got one.
They got one. Who was that? Who is number 50? Should we know that? I should know that? Well, no, I shouldn't. How would I know that? Base hit for your Twins.
It was a nice little hit.
I didn't see it. Was it solid? No doubter?
Just the liner down the line. The right field line.
All right, I got to look this up. I'm embarrassed. Hold on.
I believe that was Mr. Castro. Willie Castro?
Was it? That could be. That,
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, Willie Castro with the first base hit for your Minnesota Twins. 2 outs, 7th inning. The dream is dead for the Sox. The Twins have a base runner. Johnny Athletic. John Krasinski joins at 4 o'clock today. A day after the brawl at the Bullseye, all the fallout from what happened at Target Center last night. We could go the entire show talking about what went down at Target Center. 7 ejections, 12 technicals. A fight like we haven't seen in quite a while, I would say. So we'll dive into that next segment. In fact, we'll give you a little Alan Horton highlights, how he saw it from his perch last night at Target Center. But Johnny Krasinski on the fallout. I think we're awaiting suspensions, potential suspensions. It's not helpful if Nas and or Dante are issued one, with Denver looming tomorrow night. But if anybody happens to have been there, like in the first row or two, right there, love to hear from you today, either via text or phone, on what it was like from your perspective, because you don't always see, well, you never see a fight like that go on as long as it did and be among where people are sitting, like to be in the crowd. I know I read there was a young fan who was kind of in the meat of it, and I think A-Rod may have presented him with a Nas Reed jersey just to say, hey, sorry about what you dealt with. Read the quote from his dad in the paper this morning saying, hey, we're a hockey family. We got this. No problem.
State of hockey.
Yeah, it's the state of hockey. This is just a little kerfuffle. We got this. Amazing sight last night at Target Center. Hopefully no Wolves suspensions coming off of that. They certainly turned things around. It got them going, and they got the win over Detroit. Again, more on that next segment. Johnny Krasinski, 4 o'clock, on how he witnessed what went down, talking to the guys after the game. We'll get his thoughts on that. And then at 4:30, Russo Radio. Michael Russo, I'm assuming, is in Jersey, leading into Wild, New Jersey tonight. He, Brett, and I will chat about the state of your Minnesota Wild as playoffs are getting a little dicier. Hopefully, team is getting a little healthier. But after what John Hines called almost an unacceptable performance in their previous game, we'll see what they can do in round 2 against your New Jersey Devils. That's at 4:30. We'll do top 5 at 5, and then kind of free-for-all to finish out the show at 6 o'clock tonight with Wild and Devils. So appreciate those guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's lots to catch up on. The Final Four is set. Paige Becker's back in action tonight for the Lady UConn Huskies, following up a career game over the weekend where she scored 40 points, a career high, and the most points any UConn women's player has ever scored in an NCAA tournament game. They're playing USC tonight at 8. So we have a full program. The Twins, it looks like the inning's over. The base runner was stranded, it appears. Yep, it's bottom of 7. Twins trailing 9-0. clearly they didn't get the memo on torpedo bats because they could certainly use some kind of lift. I suppose you all heard about that, right? The Yankees players that are using these new shape bats hit 15 home runs over the weekend against the Brewers. Aaron Judge is not among those using them, so not all of their 15 home runs came with the new bats. But I was interested to read that Ryan Jeffers is using that new bat himself. And he started the season 1 for 8. So it's not, I guess, a panacea. But it's an interesting development that we will dive into just a little bit. The new bowling pin-shaped bats that are taking Major League Baseball by storm after the Yankees beat up on the Brewers over the weekend, knocking the ball all over the yard. The Twins and their feeble offense is the story of the first 4 days of this season. And, you know, if they don't get their act together before the home opener, it's going to feel like a funeral at Target Field on Thursday. I mean, it might get ugly. I mean, do you turn on a team before you've even seen them play this season? Hopefully they'll wake up a little bit. Last I saw, well, he hasn't gotten a hit because they only got 1 hit. Carlos Correa is hitless to start the season so far. Byron Buxton hitting a robust .077 to start the season so far. It's not pretty. I mean, you can go up and down the order, right? I mean, no one's hitting the ball. Ty France has yet to get a hit. Oh, no, he's .077 average for him. Miranda, 154. Castro's the one guy that's hitting the ball. He's batting .385 and got the 1 hit. Yeah, a very ugly start for your Minnesota Twins. We'll let you know how that thing ends, but certainly I was worried a little bit, like, yeah, maybe some folks will be watching the Twins and not listening to the program at 3 o'clock, but I don't think that's something we have to be too concerned about. I'm guessing most Twins fans have given up on today's afternoon affair on the south side of Chicago. It was quite a night at Target Center last night. You got your money's worth and more. The biggest fight we've seen in the NBA in years, the most technicals assessed in a game in 20 years, 7 ejections. It wasn't pretty, but it did seem to wake up the Minnesota Timberwolves. Let's chat about what went down at Target Center. We'll play a little Alan Horton play-by-play from the moment it all went down. That is next with Ben Goessling looming at the bottom of the hour. Dave Sinykin in for Barreiro. It's Bumper to Bumper on a Monday afternoon.
Welcome to the perfect night, Minneapolis. Simple Plan is coming to the Armory August 19th with special guests Bowling for Soup, 303, and Lolo. Don't miss out on a night of nostalgic early 2000s anthems. Tickets are on sale now. Get all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Tonight I knew I'd be looking tight. Thought no one would catch my eye, and then came you.
All right, we're back 3:18 on a Monday afternoon, Bumper to Bumper with Barreiro. Dave Sinykin and Brett Blakemore running the show today. 3-hour tour, bottom of the hour. Next segment, Ben Goessling joins us live from Palm Beach, Florida, site of the NFL owners meetings, to update us on what went down today, conversations he had with the higher-ups with the Purple. We'll get the latest and on the fate of the Tush Push, which apparently is on life support. If you read the reports, we'll get his thoughts and what he's heard about that. All right, let's go back to Target Center last night. The Pistons were in town, and there's a lot of concern, as we talked about it over the weekend, about this team coming in that's red hot, had just taken down the Cleveland Cavaliers without their budding superstar, Cade Cunningham, out with a calf injury. They're winning without him the last few games, and he was going to miss last night's game as well, meaning their entire backcourt, Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, are out. They hope to have Ivey back in a few weeks, but the Pistons have been the story, really, of the second half of this season. After a slow start, J.B. Bickerstaff and company have turned things around, slowly risen into the fifth position in the Eastern Conference playoff standings. Good news for the Wolves, because they own the Pistons' number 1 pick, meaning if they stay out of the lottery, the Wolves get that pick this season, they will be out of the lottery. They are a playoff team not even a play-in team. They will be a playoff team, and they are relevant for the first time in a long time. I'm not sure we have to go all the way back to the era of the Bad Boys, because they've certainly had some starts and fits and starts over the years, but they kind of invoked the Bad Boys, and they have sort of invoked that persona this season. They've got some players that play with an edge. Isaiah Stewart is a known provocateur, and sure enough, he got a technical before the brouhaha last night, and that sort of started things off. And if you heard or read Coach Finch's comments after the game, he kind of felt like it was a bubbling cauldron throughout the first quarter and a half that was about to bubble over. You could see it coming. You had Malik Beasley on fire, in fuego, knocking down threes. I think he had 6 threes in the first half, and every time he made one, he did this little shimmy, and he yelled at the crowd about nobody could guard him. Nobody could guard him. And then when he stopped, forget who he stopped on a drive. Maybe it was Jalen Clark. Maybe it was Dante. You saw him saying, heck nah, not with me. He was having fun. He was instigating, trying to get everybody up. Funny, he didn't make a 3 in the second half. More on that later. But everybody was just kind of preening and pushing their chest out and try to provoke the Wolves into something. They're a physical team. That's what they hang their hat on. And that's nothing wrong with that. It's great to have that personality if you do not cross the line. It appears, certainly from Chris Finch's vantage point, that they crossed the line last night. He put the majority of the blame, as a coach would, on the other team. But let's take a listen to what Alan Horton said on the Wolves radio network as we're at the 8:36 mark in the second quarter. Wolves have been down the entire game. They were down 14 points after the first quarter, 34-20. It was a miserable start. They gave up 7 offensive rebounds. They only made 4 of 9 free throws. They turned it over 5 times. It was an ugly first quarter. They were chipping back. They cut it to 9, and then this happened.
This one's gotten testy. It's got physical. Here's Holland to drive. Baseline, runs it up over Nas and hits it. He comes up swinging his arms, wondering where the foul was. 39-29. Pistons back up by 10. Nas fakes the handoff, keeps it himself, drives. He got fouled. Holland picks it up. And now Nas and Holland going at it. Dante steps in, and now both teams have to be separated here. Dante takes Holland right out of play. It's a pile-up under the basket. It's gotten more than heated, and they are still going at it. The whistle continues to blow. There are bodies piled up into the first few rows of the seats as tempers have flared here early in the second quarter. They are still going at it along the baseline there.
Imagine sitting in those seats in that first row when it's just... It wasn't your typical fight, because usually they get broken up really quickly. This went on. The second quarter took nearly 50 minutes of real time. The first half took an hour and 20. 44 free throws shot in the first half, 8 technicals in the first half. And we all know Rudy and Dante got ejected. Dante was off to a scintillating start in this game. He was the one guy taking it to the Pistons when they were throwing the first punches, not literal punches, but when they were taking the lead and looking like the more aggressive, physical, ready to go at it team, Dante was right there playing right with them and doing everything Dante does, all the little things. So when you see, all right, who got tossed, from a basketball perspective, the Wolves lost a lot more talent than the Pistons did, losing Nas and Dante versus Isaiah Stewart, Ron Holland, Marcus Sasser. The Wolves took it on the chin when it comes to who exited as far as who could play. Of course, head coach J.B. Bickerstaff was escorted away, as was Wolves assistant Pablo Prigioni. Those two got at it, not physically, but screaming at each other, apparently. It sounds like Pablo was not happy with Isaiah Stewart's style of play. Let that be known. Very in a colorful way. J.B. took exception to that. And those two guys go at it and have to be restrained. It was, the cliche wake-up call, I guess, for the Wolves. Not immediately, though, because the Pistons coming out of all this bumped that lead back up to double digits. And it was just a real ugly game offensively early in the first half. Ant could get nothing going, 5 points in the first half. Just didn't have any kind of rhythm. And now you've lost, two nice scoring options off the bench that were off to strong starts. But come out of halftime, and the Wolves certainly woke up, as did Ant. A 20-point third quarter for Anthony Edwards. Rudy Gobert was brilliant throughout the game. 25 rebound night, 19 points. Conley was fantastic. Jaden McDaniels, who didn't do much offensively, was his usual defensive brilliant self. And I think overall it was like a 40-point turnaround. At one point the Wolves were down 16, and then late in the game they were up 24. Ended up winning the game 123-104 in a game you can't afford to lose. You can't afford to lose any more home games this season. It's been a rocky year at Target Center, and the schedule is very much in their favor as they effort to get out of the play-in and get up to that 6th seed. They're still 7th. They rose from 8th to 7th in light of the Clippers' loss to Cleveland last night. And Golden State won again. Golden State and the Clippers closed the season against each other, which might have huge ramifications as we look ahead a week and a half or so. But this is a game the Wolves had to have because, as we said, they're going to Denver tomorrow night. And yes, they've owned the Denver Nuggets since Game 6 of the playoffs last year. They haven't lost to them. I think it's 5 in a row. The most recent game in Denver was not close. And maybe it just is that Denver just can't figure out the Wolves. But I'm pretty sure Denver's going to be ready tomorrow night. It's the most losable game on paper left this season. And the last thing they need is to not have the services of either Dante or Naz. Again, don't know when that announcement will be made, whether there are any suspensions coming from the aftermath of last night's brawl. But certainly it'll come soon. The Wolves and Pistons need to know the availability of the guys that were tossed last night. Electric, explosive night at Target Center, and just not something you see. I'm reminded via text, by the way, that the Pistons did win a championship in 2004, of course. So, yes, they have had some ups since the bad boy days, but it feels like they're trying to take on that personality right now with the guys they've brought in. It's a really good team. They've brought in some great pieces around Cade Cunningham, and it's a team that's not that hard to root for typically. But suddenly, these games are must-watch. Remember the first game in Detroit? That was, I think, Ant put up a 50-piece in that game. The Cunningham-Edwards back and forth should be really fun as the years go by. It's too bad you only play them twice a year. This could be a really nice rival after what we saw last night. So, and I should have mentioned, of course, the highlights from Alan Horton, courtesy of the Wolves Radio Network. You heard it right here on the Fan last night if you were listening to 100.3 FM. All right, let's pause here and let's turn our attentions to football. It's always a good thing to turn our attentions to the National Football League. Owners' meetings ongoing. Ben Goessling down there covering them. He joins us from Palm Beach on what he went through today, talking with KOC, sniffing around the Vikings. We'll get the latest from the owners' meetings when Ben Goessling joins next on the Fan.
Join Muss and Miller Lite at Jimmy's in Vadnais Heights this Thursday, 5 to 7. Stop by for your final shot to register for a chance to win a spot in the Vikings Foundation Golf Tournament. Full details now, KFAN.com, keyword golf.
Well, we've entered the ninth inning. Twins trail 9-0. Their most effective pitcher today has been Willie Castro, who took the hill in the eighth inning and got through it unscathed. Just a little infield base hit to the shortstop where runner just beat it out. But throwing that nice lob pitch that they just couldn't quite connect with. Way to go, Willie. Got the first hit with 2 outs in the 7th to break up the no-hitter. And he just pitched an eighth inning for your Twins, who are 3 outs away from starting the season 0-4. With a grand total of 6 runs through 4 games. On to more happy matters. Let's talk some football as we're pleased to welcome the Star Tribune's Ben Goessling. to the program. He is down in Palm Beach where the NFL owners meetings began today. Ben, have you had a chance to soak up any suns, lay out by the pool, or are you grinding because your employers might be listening?
I am grinding out by the pool, I guess, is sort of the combo I like
it.
This thing is kind of a mix of business and pleasure for the NFL, and we're covering quite a bit of news while we're down here, but most of it is not so regrettably in outdoor climates where the weather is north of 80 degrees.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's 4:30 out there. The day is done. It's time to put your feet up and enjoy some sun. I get it. You let me know early today you had some time with KOC earlier today. Was that a one-on-one or a small group meeting? What was the confab like?
Yeah, it was the group of beat writers from the Twin Cities that are down here. I think there are 5 of us here in Palm Beach for the owners' meetings that cover the Vikings on a daily basis. So O'Connell met with the assembled media today. He'll talk again tomorrow at the NFC Coaches Breakfast. The AFC coaches talked today, but he talked to the beat writers today for about 20 minutes. It was, a lot of things came up. He tried to kind of set the record straight on Aaron Rodgers and where his side of things was from those discussions. They had a lot of talks because they have a long relationship and he has a lot of respect for Rodgers, but kind of pivoted away from that discussion and more towards J.J. McCarthy, who seems like he's on track to be the starter heading into the offseason program and then probably into the season as well. But lots of talk on that and then some free agent stuff as they kind of recap what they did to upgrade both lines of scrimmage.
The reporting I've seen, I'm guessing I saw it from you, maybe some others as well, is that it was Rodgers who approached the Vikings first to gauge their interest. I'm not sure I knew that or how clear that was to everybody. When Aaron Rodgers calls, you obviously take the call and listen. And as you say, I was unaware that Kevin O'Connell and Rodgers had a relationship that goes back a long time, so that probably made it a bit easier. And for Vikes fans that maybe want to calm down a bit, there have been video of him throwing to DK Metcalf in L.A. over the weekend to see if maybe that connection does feel right to him. But you're right, he kind of cleared the air, didn't put complete 100% support behind JJ in that they still are reluctant to name him the number one quarterback at this point. I find that, I guess I understand you don't want to hand anybody anything, but if you connect the dots that you still don't have a real backup quarterback on your roster, it feels a little odd to me that they haven't just said, yep, JJ's our number one. He's got to earn it. But right now, he's number one in the clubhouse.
Well, I think a lot of it is they probably don't feel like it carries much weight at this point, because if you say he's the number one and that can sound like he's going to be the number one no matter what happens, if he has a setback with the injury or he just looks like he needs a little more time. I think they are proceeding right now as though he will be the number one, but I don't think they feel like they can completely 100% unequivocally say that, or that they even really need to at this point. I think they're still in the market for a backup, and certainly that's something I expect them to do. I expect them to add another veteran here at some point. But, yeah, I mean, there's just enough unknown with him yet because he didn't play at all and because he's only 22 years old that I don't think they feel like they need to make some type of a declaration just to keep everybody happy. But every indication certainly is that he's the guy, because right now it's him and Brett Rippon, the only guys who are on the roster. And I think they feel pretty good about where he's at, and we'll probably get a little more clarity on that depending on what they do here with a veteran that I expect they'll sign probably in the next few weeks or so.
Anything else come out of your conversation with the head coach that maybe caught your attention or earned some follow-up, or maybe something that you weren't expected to hear? Anything else that we want to know about?
Well, I think it's been interesting to hear, and we talked with him, and we talked with Mark Wilf a little bit today as well. It's been interesting to hear about some of their thinking on free agency and kind of the way they went about it. I mean, they, at this point, are, by their calculations, in line to get, possibly as many as 3 comp picks for next year. And there's been lots of questions about, hey, why are they taking so long to sign another quarterback? Some of it is for that reason. They realize they're in a good spot with the comp picks, and a lot of the guys they've signed are guys like Jonathan Allen or Javon Hargrave. Even Aaron Rodgers would have been in this boat where he wouldn't have factored into that comp pick formula because he was released by the Jets. So when Darnold leaves, when Daniel Jones leaves, possibly even the deal that Cam Robinson got could put them in line to earn a number of comp picks. And a lot of the way they're operating, I think, is with the belief of if they're in line to get 3 of these things, they don't want to do something to jeopardize that if they don't have to. So a lot of people are kind of saying, well, hey, why are they taking so long on a quarterback? The deadline for that, where it no longer affects the comp pick formula, is 3 p.m. the Monday after the draft. So if this gets dragged out, from some of the conversations we've had down here, I've heard this before today, but it was interesting to hear a little more, just kind of having some conversations with people around the owners' meetings about where that comp pick formula sits and how that may affect what they're going to do here in the next few weeks.
They've signed a number of guys. It's been a really impressive-looking free agency class as I see it from afar. My understanding is they still have a good amount of cap space available, correct? Should they decide to scour what's available? Do you have any sense that they're looking to spend more in the near term, or is it maybe the time to hold on to your money because you can re-sign some of your guys and get some of that stuff figured out as far as your roster building goes looking ahead to next season? What's your sense on how far through this free agency process they are?
Yeah, I think they'll continue to look for options. I don't think they're done. They've still got something in the neighborhood of, I think, just a touch over $20 million of cap space left, and they could roll any of that they don't use into next year, which they may do a fair amount of that because they push some money into the future, and I think having that cap space makes it easier so they don't have to do quite as many contract restructures as they head into 2026. But yeah, I think they're going to continue to look for ways to help things, especially if there are guys out there a little bit later in this offseason that they feel like can help without, again, affecting that comp pick formula. That's kind of wonky inside baseball stuff with the NFL, but it is, I think, something they're thinking about quite a bit. So, yeah, I think if there's still a fit out there, they will look for it and try to keep adding. I think another corner, if there's somebody that they like, could make some sense. I think, if you find another guard, I think that could be a place where they look for a little more competition with Blake Brandel on the left side. A lot of those things are still places where they could use help. And, wide receiver depth, I think, is probably another area to keep an eye on, especially if Jordan Addison ends up being in a 3-game suspension at the beginning, I should say, of the 2025 season because of that drunken driving arrest or citation in Los Angeles last summer. So there's still, I think, enough areas where they could go out and look to add. I think they'll probably be fairly pragmatic about it at this point, and there's not a lot of things that you're going to get into a bidding war for, but there's still places to add, and certainly the backup quarterback is a spot they're going to address in the next few weeks as well.
I think one of the sneaky nice pickups was running back Jordan Mason. He got a really nice run with the McCaffrey injury with the 49ers and looked like every bit the part of a guy that could be your lead running back. And I just think, they don't want too many miles on Aaron Jones. You want to have a guy you can count on. I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Mason ends up being the more productive running back for this team in the 2025 season. I think that was a sneaky nice pickup by them.
Yeah, it's one of those picks that I think, or one of the trades that I think is one we could look back on, like you say, and it becomes a big factor in the 2025 season because, like you say, Aaron Jones, even though he came through every game last season, I think had a career high in carries and yards. He is 30. He played through a lot of injuries. As well as anybody, he's had a history of things that have kept him off the field. So they're not wanting to have him carry that running game completely by himself. And I think that was a lot of the interest in Jordan Mason, who had a big day against the Vikings last September. He's a guy that is a little more of a physical runner, and they have struggled in goal-to-go situations or 3rd-and-1 situations to just be able to get the yard that they need when they have to have it. I think some of that they feel like can be addressed through Ryan Kelly, through Will Fries coming in, but having another back like Jordan Mason that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah talked about is kind of a 4-minute back will help them. I mean, we've talked a lot about the Vikings and all the close games they've played. Some of those are because they haven't been able to salt away games when they've had opportunities to do it. And Mason could be the type of back that when everybody knows it's going to be a run and it's a heavier front, he's a little more capable of getting extra yards when they need it. And they, in that case, don't have to rely on Aaron Jones as much either. You don't have to have some of those carries that come with a little more of a physical toll, and you can keep him a little fresher in the process. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's one of those pickups that people probably aren't talking about a ton, but we may look back on that and say this was a big factor in whatever they become in 2025.
We're talking with Ben Goessling, covers the Vikes for the Star Tribune and StarTribune.com. Speaking of Kwesi, saw some reporting today that Mark Wilf and Kwesi and his people are further along, trying to work out an extension, a new deal for the Vikes general manager, or whatever his official title is. What have you heard about that? It sounds like it's something they're trying to get done before the season starts.
Yeah, it is. And Mark Wilf said today it's something they want to do this offseason. The conversations continue on that. It has been interesting. I mean, I asked him today about Kevin O'Connell and why that one got done so quickly. He said we want to get the leadership locked up, and he talked about that both with Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. But he did say market dynamics were a factor with O'Connell, and it's not hard to figure out what that means. Kevin O'Connell is the NFL Coach of the Year and would have had an awfully strong market if he were to come out of here. In fact, a lot of the chatter at the end of the season about teams being interested in him, I don't think the Vikings were going to pick up the phone for a trade call, but I had heard some of those things that Jay Glazer reported as well, that there was some of that interest in him. So they wanted to get that squared away, and I think that was probably a little more of a unique situation for Kevin O'Connell, maybe than it would be for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah at this point, just given kind of the buzz that has been created about O'Connell around the league and some of the things that helps as far as his market goes. But the other thing to remember here is that front offices are on a little bit of a different timetable with their contracts than coaches are. As I understand it, front office members typically have contracts that run through the draft. The reason for that being teams don't want to have scouts or high-level front office executives leaving in the middle of free agency, in the middle of the draft prep process. That's the most important time of the year for a front office. So as I understand it, Kwesi's deal doesn't actually expire until after next year's draft. So if we get, further into the offseason, if it's May or something and this isn't done, then yeah, I think it becomes a little more of, hey, where is this going? But as I understand it, we are not heading into the last draft that he is under contract. So that does affect the timing a little. And I also just think he's fairly comfortable sitting there saying, until I get exactly what I want from a deal, I don't mind the uncomfortable nature of things, because if you're looking for peace of mind, that can sometimes be a way to sign a deal that you're not quite ready to sign. Right. And I think that may be part of why there's not the same level of urgency that people might expect there to be, given the fact that he has a deal that expires in a year.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we'll see, as you say, a couple months from now. It might be a bit newsier, but it makes sense that we haven't heard anything just yet. All right, feels like the newsiest piece of NFL stuff that has come out today is the news that the tush push ban, which was put forward by my favorite team, appears to be gaining support within the competition committee. I read that there was a heated back and forth today by Eagles GM Howie Roseman and a couple of head coaches, Sean McVay, Sean McDermott. What have you heard? How quickly could a decision be reached? And are you at all surprised that it's kind of gone in this direction, that it might actually be outlawed?
Yeah, it's been interesting because you hear some of those things and that there is support. And then I think there were a few coaches on the AFC coaches breakfast this morning that said, I don't think this needs to be banned just because one team is really good at it. And obviously that team is the one that Howie Roseman manages, that everybody says, hey, why should this be allowed just because you have a quarterback that's so good at it? It's like, the nature of that play is one that I think a lot of people have said, is this supposed to be legal? I remember the first time, obviously the root of that name is the Bush push from that Notre Dame game against USC, the famous game in 2005, where Reggie Bush gets sort of helped into the end zone to score the winning touchdown against Notre Dame, I think at Notre Dame Stadium, if I remember right, in that game. So I think there's always this question of should this be something that is illegal? And I would imagine Sean McDermott is in favor of it being legal too, because he has a quarterback that's pretty good at gaining a yard when you need it. So I actually looked this up today. I was curious about the Packers on this because they obviously played the Eagles twice at the beginning of the season and in the wild card round.
Yeah.
I don't believe Jalen Hurts scored a touchdown in either of those games. So I don't know that they got specifically hurt by the tush push, but obviously they had to prepare for it twice. So I will be very interested to see where this goes if there's enough support. Obviously it needs 24 votes, so 3/4 of the league to pass. And I would expect that may get done, whatever the vote is going to be tomorrow. I mean, they try to kind of wrap up a lot of this meeting by Tuesday. So I think we'll start to hear a little more finality on some of these decisions on rules by tomorrow.
Any other big-time rule changes we might want to keep our eyes open for? A couple texts have come in about playoff seeding, although, Vikings win 14 games, yet they don't get a home game. Is that something that's on the table? Anything else that's gaining some steam so far this week?
Yeah, the playoff seeding thing is really interesting, and I asked Mark Wilf about this today because of this scenario. I mean, the Vikings obviously were the team that was hurt the most by the current playoff format, which, of course, is you have to win your division to play a home playoff game. And the NFC North was historically good this year. The Vikings are the first 14-win wildcard team ever, and I think the Packers tied the record for the most wins by a third-place team ever. So the Packers, of course, are the 7th seed, and I think in this format that the Lions are proposing, the Packers would have been the 5, and the Vikings would have been at home as the 3 seed, rather than the Packers having to go to Philly and the Vikings having to go on the road. So there would seem to be momentum for this to get done because of the uniqueness of that scenario last year, and I'm sure the Lions thought about this. The Lions were the team that proposed it. I'm sure they were sitting there thinking, we're going into this thing into week 18, and we might end up on the road in the first round of the playoffs. So I think that's where it came from. But when I asked Mark Wilf about it, he didn't sound that in favor of it. He said, "Well, listen to all the deliberations, but we are leaning against it. We feel like the division format has been the path that's worked for the NFL, and it's been successful." You've seen the NFL obviously backload schedules with division games, and Week 18 is 100% division games. So I have wondered if this will pass because there does seem to be a lot of support in general for divisions, even if last year was a unique scenario. And hearing Mark Wilf, who owns the team that was affected by this the most and maybe would have the most case for a gripe, he kind of sounded like, yeah, we'll listen, but we're kind of leaning against it right now. So I thought that was all very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you wouldn't think so. Some people, are slaves to tradition. Like, nope, division winners deserve something, and a higher seed is what it is. I'd love to see them change it, but it feels too radical. I guess I'd be surprised to see them make a move like that, but I'd be happily surprised. I hope they do it. All right, so how much longer are you down there? What other highlights are on your agenda for as long as you're down there at the meetings?
Well, the NFC coaches breakfast is tomorrow morning. So basically every AFC coach got in a room this morning, and they're at round tables, and you can kind of bounce around to different coaches and talk to different people about different players or different trends or whatever. So sat at Jim Harbaugh's table for a little while this morning, asking him a couple of questions about his former college quarterback, who is a fairly large topic of conversation for the Vikings these days. So he talked about J.J. McCarthy a little bit and said, yeah, we're going to have to play him this year. So they're aware of the fact that he's going to see his old quarterback at some point this year, and that may be a tough matchup. But tomorrow is the NFC coaches. So Kevin O'Connell will talk to reporters from around the league, including all of us local reporters that are here for it. So we'll hear from Kevin O'Connell again tomorrow morning, and the rest of the NFC coaches will be in that room as well. And then it's a matter of trying to see where any of these rule changes might go, whether it's the kickoff stuff is going to come up again. You're going to have the tush push thing, the question of the playoff seeding. There's a few other things that are, I think, being talked about and debated in a lot of these committee meetings today. So a lot of that will happen tomorrow, and we should hear from Roger Goodell as the meetings wrap up. But yeah, there should be more Vikings discussion tomorrow, probably another opportunity to ask Kevin O'Connell about some of the offensive line additions they've made, and, a lot of those changes with Will Fries and Ryan Kelly coming in. And that one's interesting too, because that's going to be a big facelift for that group. As I understand it, getting Ryan Kelly was a fairly large coup in terms of what it meant to get Will Fries here. Those two have worked well together over the years, and that made the Vikings more appealing in what sounded like it was a pretty hot bidding war for Will Fries. So we should hear more from O'Connell tomorrow. We'll hear more from obviously all of the NFC coaches. And then, some of these rules, we'll see if that gets pushed over the line and any of them are written into law, so to speak, for the NFL in 2025.
You still have some sun, right? It's not too late in the day. You still can get out there and work on your tan, correct?
Yep, I can. The sun is back. We had a little bit of rain. I mean,
no.
It could feel very bad for me, but the sun is, if you're not, the sun is back out. And I plan to spend a fair amount of my remaining hours here in the sun because most Minnesotans are vitamin B deficient, and I am no exception to that. So, I'll probably try to find a way to work outside as much as I can.
Attaboy. Appreciate the time, Ben. Enjoy the week in Palm Beach, and we'll look forward to your tweets and your reporting as the week goes on. Thanks, my man.
All right. Appreciate it, Dave. Thank you.
Ben Goessling, read his stuff, as always, at the Star Tribune and StarTribune.com. We go from one rock star guest to another. John Krasinski was in the belly of the beast at Target Center last night. He joins us next with the fallout, what he witnessed, what it might mean, all that the day after the brawl at the Bullseye. He is next on The Fan.